It started on a Tuesday, which is probably the most forgettable day of the week, but now it's carved into my memory like a scar you can't stop tracing with your finger. She left the apartment at 6:12 p.m. I remember the time exactly because I was watching some rerun on TV, and I saw her reflection in the black screen when she paused by the door. She wasn't dressed like someone going to scrub down hotel bathtubs. She had on this oversized hoodie, hood up, head low, no makeup, like she was trying to disappear. She told me she picked up a late shift, that some guest clogged a toilet on the top floor and she had to deal with it. I laughed, made a joke about how she should start charging plumber rates. She didn't even blink, just mumbled something and left. But that look in her eyes before she closed the door, like she was about to step into a world she hoped I'd never find, it stuck with me. I sat there for 10 minutes. 10 solid minutes. Then I grabbed my jacket and my keys and I followed. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe I just wanted to confirm she was really going to work. Maybe I thought I was being paranoid. But the moment her car turned left instead of right, the hotel was right, my stomach sank. She took the highway, fast. I kept my distance, 3 cars behind, headlights off when I could. She drove 20 minutes out of town, to this industrial area. All rusted metal and blinking neon signs. She pulled into a place called Aurora. Black glass windows, pulsing red light under the entrance like a devil's mouth. There were people lined up, dressed like they were about to sell secrets for money. It was a nightclub, one I'd never even heard of. I parked across the street. My hands were shaking, but not from the cold. I sat and waited. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Then the door opened and there she was. She didn't look like the woman who left the house. Her hoodie was gone. She stepped out in something short, glittering, cheap and loud. High boots, lips red as warnings, her hair pulled back tight and slick like she was going into battle. I stared through the windshield like I didn't know her. And then she laughed. Loud, free, with a guy next to her. Not touching, but close. Too close. They didn't kiss. They didn't even brush shoulders. But there was something electric in how she looked at him, how he looked at her. Like they shared a secret. One I wasn't invited to. I stayed there for 2 hours. Watched her dance. Watched her flirt. Watched her become someone else. Someone I wouldn't have recognized in daylight. She was fire on that stage. Not in a good way. Not in a wow, she's talented way. In a what else don't I know about this person I sleep next to every night way. She never looked at her phone. Not once. Not to check for messages. Not to check on me. And then I made a mistake. I went inside. I told the bouncer I was here to pick up my wife. He laughed. Straight up laughed and said, "You'll have to be more specific, man." I pushed past him. Nobody stopped me. Inside was all smoke and sweat and pounding bass. My eyes scanned the crowd. She was in the middle of the room, dancing like nothing mattered, like I didn't exist. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, maybe less. Then she saw me. Her smile froze, just for a breath, like a record skipping. Then it snapped back. She strutted over like I was some lost tourist who'd wandered into the wrong dimension. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, but she never stopped smiling. "Not for the people watching." "I followed you," I said. "Thought you were cleaning toilets tonight." And she laughed, loud enough that people turned to look. "Maybe I am," she said, leaning close to my ear. "Just not the kind you're thinking of." I couldn't even speak. I think my jaw actually dropped. She gave me a wink and turned her back, walking away like I was a bad date she was embarrassed to be seen with. I stood there, humiliated, a stranger in a place that was supposed to be her secret world. But now the curtain was pulled back, and the play was grotesque. And I hadn't even gotten to the worst part yet, that I didn't go home that night. I drove around until the sun started bleeding through the sky, pale and angry. Every red light felt like a slap. Every car that passed me looked more honest than my own wife. I ended up parked in a Walmart lot, engine off, just listening to my heart pound louder than the morning traffic. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, trying to rewind the last 7 years like a bad movie, hoping I'd spot the exact frame where everything fell apart. When I finally walked back into our apartment, the smell of her perfume punched me in the face before I even closed the door. Not the one she used around me. This one was different. Stronger, sweatier, the kind that stuck to skin after too many bodies rubbed together under nightclub lights. Her boots were by the door. Glitter on the rug. The kind of glitter that doesn't come off no matter how hard you scrub. She was in the kitchen, sipping coffee like she hadn't just set fire to our life 12 hours ago. Wearing one of my t-shirts. Barefoot. Humming. "You look like roadkill," she said without looking at me. I didn't answer, just stared at her. Like maybe, if I looked hard enough, I'd see the gears turning in her head, see some flicker of guilt, some crack in the mask. Nothing. So, I finally said, "You want to explain what the hell that was?" She didn't flinch, just kept sipping. "It's not what you think," she said. I laughed. Not because anything was funny, just because I couldn't believe how predictable that line was. "Really? Then tell me what I think I saw." "You followed me," she said, frowning. "That's gross. You lied to me. For how long?" She put the mug down, leaned against the counter like we were discussing weekend plans. "It's not a big deal. I needed extra cash. Hotels don't pay for the dancing gig. It's just temporary. You danced like you forgot I existed." I snapped. "And who the hell was that guy?" Now her face changed. Just a flicker, like I'd touched a nerve. "He's no one," she said quickly. "Just a friend from the club." "Do you think I'm a clown?" I asked. She tilted her head. "You're overreacting. You always do this. You make drama out of nothing." I stepped closer. "Nothing? You laughed in my face last night. You called me your husband, and you laughed. Like I'm a joke." She rolled her eyes. "That was for show. You barged in like a lunatic. I had to cover." "Cover for what? Being a liar? A cheater? That did it." Her eyes narrowed. Mouth curled into something that looked more like satisfaction than anger. "I haven't cheated," she said, slow and deliberate. "But maybe I should've. Would've made the lies more fun." I felt it then, that silent explosion inside your chest when you realize the person standing across from you is no longer someone you know or love or trust. She wasn't trying to fix anything. She wasn't sorry. She was daring me to break. So I did. I told her to get out. No screaming. No theatrics. I just said it cold. She stared at me like I was the one who broke her heart. Like I'd betrayed her. "You'll be begging me back in a week," she said. "You can't survive without me." And then she smirked, picked up her mug, walked past me. She didn't pack a bag. She didn't slam the door. She just left, calm as a breeze. And I stood there, in my own apartment, surrounded by ghosts of a marriage that was never real. But her phone, her real phone, not the burner she must have been using for the club, was still on the counter. And inside it, there were more secrets. And I was just getting started. I didn't touch her phone right away. It sat on the counter like a bomb, ticking softly in silence. Every second I stared at it, I felt like I was doing something wrong. Even after everything, even after the club, the laughter, the smug exit. But then I remembered her words, echoing in my skull like a dare. Maybe I should've, would've made the lies more fun. So I picked it up. No password. She must have thought she'd taken it with her. Or maybe she wanted me to find what was inside. Like a final slap, just in case her smile wasn't enough. First, it was innocent. Boring messages. Grocery lists. Her sister reminding her about some family dinner she'd skipped. Then I found the folder buried under an app I'd never seen her use. The folder was named Receipts. Fitting. Inside were screenshots. Dozens. Conversations. Photos. Venmo transactions. Club schedules. Names. Times. Places. Some messages were to numbers without names, but they all had the same tone. Flirty, manipulative, cold. There were photos too, not the explicit kind, but worse in a way. Her with different men. In different outfits. Different wigs. Sometimes she looked like someone I used to know. Other times she was completely unrecognizable. In one photo, she had a short red wig and sunglasses, wrapped around some guy's arm outside what looked like a casino. In another, she was pouring drinks behind a private bar. I checked the dates. This wasn't new. This went back months. And then I found the message that nailed the coffin shut. Unknown number. "He still thinks you clean hotel rooms? LOL. Her. "He thinks I unclog toilets. I should win an Oscar." Unknown number. "You're evil." Her. "Nah. I'm just smart." He's slow. Too easy to lie to. I didn't move for a long time. I just stood there, phone still in my hand, rereading those words until they blurred. Too easy to lie to. That wasn't a slip. That wasn't heat of the moment. That was how she really saw me. Some gullible prop in the background of her double life. Placeholder. A fool. My first thought wasn't even about the betrayal. It was about all the conversations we'd had that now sounded different. Every, "I love you," every "just tired," every fake yawn and quick kiss before she left for work. They all echoed back like lines from a cruel script. I didn't delete anything. I backed it all up. Every message. Every photo. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew I'd need it. Then I did something I didn't expect. I called the number from that last message. I don't know why. I just needed to hear a voice. Maybe to match it to a face. Maybe just to ask one stupid question. "Did you know I existed?" He answered on the third ring. Voice low, scratchy, like he'd just woken up. I didn't introduce myself. I just said, "You've been talking to my wife." There was a pause. Long, too long. Then he said, "Which one?" That stopped me cold. "Which one?" I asked. "Look, man," he sighed. "If this is about Madison or whatever name she gave you, I don't want any trouble." I didn't speak. "She said she was single," he continued, trying to explain. "Said her ex was crazy and stalking her. Said he was dangerous." "I'm the ex," I said. He hung up. I stood there in the kitchen, holding the phone to dead air, my own breath louder than anything else in the room. She was using me as a scarecrow, a convenient villain in the background of her circus. I didn't eat, didn't shower, just started cleaning. Not the house, not dishes. I started cleaning her out of my life. Photos? Gone. Her art supplies? Packed and tossed in the hallway. Her name on our joint accounts? Removed. Her voice on the answering machine? Deleted. I erased her like she'd never lived here. Never shared a bed. Never whispered lies into my ear every night. I thought that would be the end of it. But that night, someone knocked on my door. And everything changed again. It was just after midnight when the knock came. Not loud. Not frantic. Just 3 slow, deliberate taps. The kind that let you know someone's on the other side who isn't afraid of being seen. First, I didn't move. Just stared at the door like maybe it would vanish. I wasn't expecting anyone. I hadn't told a soul what happened. No one even knew she was gone yet. I half thought it might be her, maybe drunk, maybe smug, maybe coming back to twist the knife a little deeper. I opened the door. It wasn't her. It was a woman. Late 30s, maybe early 40s. Sharp features, perfectly done nails. Wearing a navy blue trench coat over business clothes like she came from a meeting that went too long. She had this look. Not cold, not warm. Focused. She didn't introduce herself. She just looked me over once. Then said, "You're the husband." I didn't answer. Just stepped back enough to let her in or shut the door, depending on where this was going. "She did it to my brother," she said, walking right past me like she'd been here before. I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "Your wife," she said, stopping in the middle of my living room, turning to face me. "She's not just a dancer. She's a grifter." I said nothing, just watched as she opened her bag and pulled out a folder. Real paper, not digital, old school. Inside were photos, bank statements, names. She held up a picture of a guy in a wheelchair. Kind face, maybe in his late 20s. "My brother. Name's Elijah. He met her 6 months ago. She said her name was Danny. She helped him with his physical therapy. Said she was studying nursing." My jaw locked. That wasn't even close to the version of her I knew. But somehow I believed it instantly. "She moved in with him 2 months later," the woman continued. "Said she wanted to take care of him full-time. Told him she loved him. That she wanted to start a new life with him." I felt like the floor was tilting under my feet. 2 weeks ago," she said, her voice tightening. "She emptied his savings account and disappeared. $56,000. All gone. She even took his dog." I sat down. Hard. The woman placed the folder on the table in front of me. "I tracked her through one of the guys she used at that nightclub. He had a photo of her in front of this building. That's how I found you." I flipped through the documents. There were at least 5 different names. Danny, Chloe, Brianna, Eva. Different jobs, different cities, different versions of the same woman. All of them her. She didn't just lie to you, the woman said. She's not just cheating. She's working a circuit, luring people in, draining them, then burning every bridge behind her. My hands were shaking, but I wasn't cold. I was burning up. I wanted to scream, to punch something, but mostly I wanted to understand how I'd been this blind. Then the woman reached into her coat and pulled out something else. A phone. Not mine. Not hers. Not Madison's. I found this in Elijah's things, she said. He said she left it by accident. I cracked the lock. There's more in there. Messages, names, plans. You should see it. I took it from her like it might explode. What do you want from me? I asked, staring at the dark screen. She looked at me with a calm that was almost unnerving. I want her stopped. We sat in silence for a moment. The kind of silence that isn't empty, but full of potential energy. Like a storm about to break. Whatever you decide to do, she said, standing to leave. Don't believe anything she says when she comes back, because she will come back. They always do. And then she was gone. I sat in the dark for hours, holding that second phone, heart thundering with everything I thought I knew turning into ash. At 4:06 a.m., the phone buzzed in my hand. A new message, from a contact named Cash Drop. It read, "Same place tonight. Bring the bag. No delays." And suddenly, it hit me. She wasn't just lying. She was still in the middle of something. Something bigger. Something I wasn't supposed to see. And if I moved fast enough, I could blow it all wide open. The message changed everything. Same place tonight. Bring the bag. No delays. It repeated in my mind like a drumbeat. Same place. The bag. No delays. I didn't know what the bag was, but I knew one thing for certain. I had to be there. I had to see what she was doing when she thought I was out of the picture. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. I just stared at the screen until the sun came up and I realized I'd already made my decision. This wasn't about saving the marriage anymore. That part was already buried. This was about pulling back every single mask she ever wore and leaving them all on the floor for everyone to see. I took the day off work. Didn't even bother with an excuse. I just sent a message saying I was sick. Which was true in a way. Sick of being lied to. Sick of being played. Sick of her shadow draped over every inch of my life. I spent the rest of the day preparing. At 8:40 p.m., I drove out to the address from the folder that woman had left me. The one labeled, Drop Location. It was a tiny warehouse tucked behind a mechanic's shop. The kind of place you'd pass 1,000 times without ever noticing. No signs, no windows. Just a rusted metal door and a single flickering light above it. I parked 2 blocks away. Walked up the side alley. Kept my hood low, my pace casual. I didn't have a plan. Not a real one. Just instinct. And fury. I waited. 9:03 p.m. A black car pulled up. Windows tinted so dark they looked like mirrors. Out stepped a man in a gray coat, carrying a briefcase. He knocked on the warehouse door twice. Quick. A beat. Then the door opened. And there she was. Not the woman who used to wear my t-shirts and laugh at late-night movies. No, this version of her, this stranger, wore a fitted blazer, leather gloves, sleek heels. Her hair was slicked back tight, not a strand out of place. She looked like she walked off the set of some crime drama where she plays the femme fatale who always knows just a little more than she lets on. She smiled at the man, handed him a duffel bag. He handed her the briefcase. No words exchanged, just business. Then he walked away. She stood in the doorway for a second, flipping through the contents of the briefcase like she was counting bills. Her expression didn't change, just a slight tilt of her head, like she was ticking something off a mental list. Then she turned and walked back inside, door clicking shut behind her. I knew I had to move. I ran back to my car, heart beating so fast I could feel it in my teeth. I wasn't thinking. I was just moving on adrenaline. I drove straight to the woman's office. Her name was Alicia, I finally remembered, the one who came to my place that night. She worked as a private investigator. Of course she did. I realized that after looking at her folder again, the way she cataloged everything. She hadn't been guessing. She'd been hunting. I showed her the message, told her what I saw, the man, the exchange, the duffel bag. She didn't blink. You saw the handoff? She asked, already pulling out her laptop. Yes, briefcase for a bag. No words, just cold. Then it's bigger than I thought. she said. She pulled up a series of photos. One of them showed the same man I'd seen at the warehouse. Only this time he was in front of a government building. The caption under it said, FBI informant, suspected double agent. My breath caught. What the hell is she involved in? Alicia looked me dead in the eyes. I think your wife is laundering money, not just skimming from men she tricks. Actual criminal cash. And if she's dealing with him, this is way out of personal drama territory. I sat back, stunned. But why would she keep coming home? Why keep the marriage going? She needed a front, Alicia said. Something stable. Clean. You were her clean. I felt like throwing up. Then her phone buzzed. Another message. Alicia read it. Her eyes narrowed. She's making another drop. In 30 minutes. Same district. Different address. I stood. I'm going with you. She hesitated, then nodded. We were out the door in seconds. This wasn't about closure anymore. This was a trap. One I was going to spring with my own hands. The ride to the second location was dead silent, except for the mechanical rhythm of Alicia's turn signals and the quiet hum of the heater. The city outside looked like a blur. Headlights smeared across wet streets, neon signs flickering like nervous thoughts. My pulse was a drumbeat in my throat. We pulled into a gravel lot behind an old pawn shop with half its sign burned out. The address from the message led us to a back entrance, one of those steel doors with a keypad, tucked between two dumpsters. Alicia killed the lights and parked facing away. We watched. 9:27 p.m. She arrived. Same black car. But this time she was driving. She stepped out wearing a trench coat. Different than earlier. Less sharp. More casual. She scanned the alley before opening the trunk and pulling out a small black suitcase. Then something new happened. A man came out from the shadows. Not the one from before. Younger. Late 20s, maybe. Tattoo on his neck. He was pacing, anxious. When he saw her, he moved fast. Too fast. They met halfway between the car and the door. He snatched the suitcase from her. She said something. He snapped back. Her voice raised, arms gesturing. She reached for the suitcase, and he shoved her back. That's when I saw it. Not fear. Annoyance. Like he was just a wrinkle in her plan. And when he turned to leave, she calmly stepped forward and slapped the suitcase out of his hands. It burst open. Bundles of cash spilled across the wet gravel. Not 20s. Hundreds. He froze. She smiled. Then another voice. Sharp. Cutting through the alley like a siren. Hands where I can see them. Red and blue lights exploded to life. Unmarked vehicles. Tactical vests. Armed men pouring out from behind fences. Out of parked vans. The alley lit up like a theater stage. Someone had triggered the trap, but it wasn't us. It was them. FBI. At least 5 agents. Guns out. Flashlights trained on her and the guy with the neck tattoo. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She raised her hands slowly, gracefully, and said something I couldn't hear. They cuffed them both. Took the money. Bagged the suitcase. Someone shouted into a radio. The entire thing unfolded like they'd rehearsed it a dozen times. Alicia and I sat frozen, ducked low in the front seats. They got her, I whispered. They actually got her. No, Alicia said, not blinking. They got him. She's bait. What? She's not the target, she said, voice razor sharp. She never was. She's the one helping them pull others in. That guy with the tattoo? He's probably running for someone bigger. She just got him to show up with stolen cash. So she's what? A government informant. Maybe. Or something worse. We watched as they placed her into the back of a black SUV, separate from the others. One of the agents shook her hand before closing the door. Shook her hand. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. She played all of us, I muttered. She was never just cheating. She was building something. A whole lie made of other people's lives. Alicia finally looked at me. She's not your wife anymore, she said. She's a tool. Used by them. Used against them. And you? You were just the quiet part of her story. The background. The SUV pulled away, tires hissing on wet pavement. That was the last time I saw her in person. But it wasn't the last time she reached out. Because just 3 days later, I received a letter. Mailed. No return address. Just my name written in her perfect handwriting. Inside was a single line, written in ink that had smudged just slightly from damp fingers. You were never supposed to follow me. And below it, tucked between the folds of the paper, was a photograph of us, taken on our second anniversary. She was still smiling, and I finally understood that it had never meant the same thing to both of us. I kept that letter on the kitchen table for 2 full days. Never opened it again. Just stared at it like it might change if I gave it enough time. Like the paper itself might confess something more than the words she chose. You were never supposed to follow me. That line crawled under my skin. Not because of what it said, but because of what it didn't say. No apology. No remorse. No denial. Just a statement. Almost disappointed. Like a magician irritated her trick had been spoiled too early. The photo inside, it wasn't printed recently. It had that slightly yellowed tint from age, maybe years. She must have kept it the whole time. Through all the lies, all the fake names, all the cash drops and nightclub shadows. She still had our photo tucked away somewhere in that chaos. That was what really messed with me. What did it mean? Alicia called on the 3rd day. She had something. She was never arrested, she said without preamble. At least not formally. No record. The agents on that scene. They weren't bureau. I checked the database. So who were they? Private unit. Off books. Likely a contractor team with federal ties. They didn't book her. They protected her. Whatever she's involved in, it's higher than street-level scams. This isn't just about money anymore. I sat down. Hard. Then what is it about? She's building a web, Alicia said. And I think you were the anchor. The quiet, normal husband with the stable life. You made her look trustworthy. Safe. Forgettable. I let that sit for a moment. Safe. Forgettable. I used to think those were compliments. Then Alicia added, I also traced one of the numbers in her second phone. Belongs to a woman in Phoenix. Lives alone. Teaches yoga. She's been receiving small cash deposits from accounts linked to your wife. My stomach twisted. Another target? More like another version of the same game. Alicia sighed. I think your wife, or whatever her real name is, has more husbands. More lives. Parallel tracks. I didn't even respond. My mind had already drifted into the abyss. Into the horrifying idea that somewhere out there, another man was holding a similar photo, maybe even the same letter. Another man trying to stitch together a story with a beginning that never really existed. That night, I did something I'd been avoiding. I logged into our old joint cloud storage. I hadn't touched it since she left. Thousands of photos, videos, notes, screenshots. She'd uploaded everything there, from vacation selfies to budget spreadsheets. But tucked into one of the folders labeled Miscellaneous, I found something strange. It was a video, just 5 seconds long. No title, no description. I clicked play. It was her, sitting in our bedroom, wearing a hoodie, hair messy, no makeup, just looking directly into the camera. She smiled, not the nightclub smile, not the stage smile, a soft one, almost human. And she whispered, There's more than one version of me. I gave you the quiet one. Then the screen went black. That was it. 5 seconds. But it shattered something inside me, because for the first time, I realized she hadn't just lied about her actions. She'd lied about who she was. Not metaphorically, literally. There were versions of her, built for different lives, custom-made personalities. One for love, one for manipulation, one for laundering, one for men like me who wouldn't look too close until it was too late. I backed up the video, sent a copy to Alicia. Then I shut my laptop and sat in the dark until morning. No sleep, no dreams, just the echo of her voice. There's more than one version of me. She said it like a gift, but it was a warning, and I wasn't done unraveling her. Not yet. A week later, I got a phone call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer it. By then, I'd been getting spammed constantly. Blocked calls, texts from burner numbers with nothing but emojis or blank messages. Most of them, I was sure, were just harassment from her leftover debris. Maybe even planted distractions. But this one felt different. The silence on the line when I picked up wasn't empty. It was calculated. Then came a voice. Male. Polite. Soft-spoken. We'd like you to stop looking. I didn't say anything. Just held the phone closer. We understand your frustration, the voice continued. but the woman you knew no longer exists. Continuing this search puts you and others in complicated territory. I leaned back in my chair. Is that a threat? A suggestion, the voice replied. One you should strongly consider. We're trying to protect everyone involved, including you. Then the click. Silence. The call lasted 37 seconds. I stared at the screen, heart racing. Not because I was afraid, but because I finally understood. This went higher than anything Alicia or I had considered. This wasn't just one woman running cons. This was a network, a structure. And she, my wife or whatever she truly was, she wasn't the end of it. She was the beginning. I met with Alicia the next morning. She'd been digging deeper, relentlessly. I found a name, she said, laying a file down in front of me. It's not a real name, but it keeps showing up in digital traces, crypto wallets, offshore transactions, fake real estate contracts. It's a code name, Lark. I opened the file. There were receipts, logs, screenshots of messages routed through onion networks. One email header listed her signature, encrypted, but stylized. Lark. She's not just part of the operation, Alicia said. She's leading a segment of it, recruiting women, teaching them how to create identities, how to build relationships, exploit them, and erase the trail. I stared at the screen. So she's a handler? No, Alicia said. She's the blueprint. That word hit me like a freight train. I'd been married to the prototype. Everything she said, every way she moved, the way she built intimacy like it was part of a job. It wasn't just for me. It was taught, scaled, reproduced. You said there might be other husbands, I muttered. There are, she said. One in Seattle, another in Ohio. Both of them vanished after filing police reports. Their complaints were pulled, records sealed. You think they're alive? Alicia didn't answer right away. They were warned. Same way you were. One of them stopped talking completely. The other one, she pulled out a printed message. Tell her I was never here. She doesn't forgive curiosity. Who sent this? I asked. She hesitated. The man in Ohio. He sent it to a friend. That friend sent it to me. I stared at the message until the words stopped meaning anything. Just shapes. Just wait. I stood. I want to talk to her. Alicia's eyes widened. Josh, I don't care what she is now. I want answers. She won't give them to you. She owes me the truth. Alicia didn't try to stop me. She knew I'd already decided. So we set a trap. We uploaded a fake document to one of her old cloud folders. A single image file titled confession.mp4. Alicia masked the IP ping, made it look like it came from a blackmail ring. We left a breadcrumb in the metadata. Let's talk. Alone. You choose the place. 3 days passed. Then came the reply. No words. Just coordinates. A remote park, just outside city limits. Midnight. And so I went. No backup. No phone. Just me. And the woman I thought I knew. The architect of lies, waiting in the dark. It was quiet when I arrived. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that makes your skin crawl. No wind, no crickets, just the low hum of distant highway noise bleeding into the edge of the trees. The location she'd sent led to a park I hadn't visited since I was a kid. One of those forgotten places with creaky swing sets, overgrown grass, and benches that still had initials carved into them from couples who probably hated each other by now. She was already there, sitting alone at the far end of the park under a flickering lamppost. Same posture as always. Legs crossed, back straight, one hand resting on her lap like she owned the place. She wore a simple black coat, hair loose, face bare. No disguise, no theatrics, just her. Or rather, the version she wanted me to see tonight. I didn't sit, just stood a few feet away. You came alone, she said, not surprised. Good. You expected me? I counted on it. Silence. Then I said, why? She looked up, finally meeting my eyes. There wasn't guilt there, not even regret, just calm calculation. Because I knew you wouldn't let it go. You were always too curious. That's what you hated about me? No, she said. That's what made you useful. Curious people make better masks. You asked the right questions at the right times. Made me sharpen my answers. I wanted to yell. I wanted to rip every lie out of her mouth. But instead I asked the one thing I couldn't stop thinking about. Was any of it real? She didn't answer at first, just stared past me at the old playground. Then, parts. Which parts? She stood, slowly, stepped closer. The first year, before the job grew bigger, before I started training others. That was quieter, cleaner. I liked who I was with you. You liked the role, I said. She tilted her head. Maybe. Or maybe that version of me was the closest thing to real you'll ever see. I couldn't believe how steady her voice was, how unbothered she looked, standing there telling me she'd engineered our life together like some social experiment. Why come here? I asked. Why give me this meeting? Because you've already figured it out, she said. You know about the network. You know about Lark. You even know I didn't act alone. And you think I'll stay quiet? She stepped even closer. Now I could see the faint scar near her collarbone. One I never noticed before. I don't care if you do, she whispered. This operation doesn't depend on me. I'm a drop of water in the ocean. Burn my file, expose everything. There'll be another Lark next month. But you sent me that letter, I said. You kept the photo. You whispered into that camera. Why? Her expression shifted. A flicker of something, maybe nostalgia, maybe disdain, maybe nothing at all. I wanted you to know I'm not sorry. She turned to leave. I grabbed her arm. Wait. She stopped, but didn't face me. You said there's more than one version of you. So which one was standing in our kitchen on Sunday mornings? Making pancakes? Telling me she loved me? A long pause. Then softly, that one wanted to be real. But wanting doesn't make it so. She walked away. I didn't follow. I just stood there in the park, surrounded by ghosts that had no names anymore. The swing creaked once in the breeze, as if to close the curtain on a scene that never truly belonged to me. But the story wasn't over. Because when I got home that night, I found a small envelope slid under my front door. Inside was a key and a note. One last version. If you still want the truth. And below that, an address. The place I would finally learn what even she hadn't told anyone else. The address led me to a storage facility on the outskirts of town. One of those 24-hour places lit by motion sensor floodlights and lined with identical steel doors, each hiding a universe of someone's forgotten life. Unit 108. The key slid in too easily, like it had been waiting for me. I pushed the door open. The lights buzzed on overhead, cold, sterile, white. Inside was a single chair, a plastic storage bin, and a folded laptop sitting atop it, powered and waiting. Nothing else. No photos on the walls. No boxes stacked high. No traces of her perfume or that damn citrus cleaner smell I'd once associated with comfort. Just that bin, that chair, and the silence that stretched like static in my ears. I walked in, sat down, opened the bin. It was filled with files. Real ones. Paper documents. Driver's licenses from 5 different states. IDs under names I'd never heard. Handwritten letters addressed to people I couldn't place. A birth certificate. Passport. Old journals, some written in a rushed, spidery script. A small notebook with a list of men's names and dates. A ledger of some kind. Mine was at the bottom. Circled. Next to it, anchor. Do not burn. My hands shook, but not from fear. From anger. From disbelief. From the cold realization that I'd only ever seen fragments of her. Carefully placed pieces that built the illusion of a woman I loved. And in this moment I was holding the rest. I opened the laptop. It booted directly into a video. No password. No interface. She appeared on screen. Different again. Hair shorter. No makeup. Dressed like she was preparing for war. Not confession. Josh, she said. If you're watching this, then you're still pulling at threads. And I guess you deserve to know how the sweater unravels. I leaned forward, gripping the edge of the chair so hard my knuckles ached. I was recruited at 22, she said. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't even legal. Just strategic. I was good at pretending, at vanishing, at making people fall for me. And the people who watched noticed. She took a breath. Not shaky, controlled. They gave me tools, gave me names, gave me reasons. But the lies? I built those myself. A pause. Then her eyes narrowed. Every version of me had rules. Yours, The version who made pancakes and fell asleep on your chest after movies. She wasn't fake. She just wasn't built to last. I gave you the quietest me, the safest one, because I wanted to believe I could live in that skin forever. Her voice cracked just once. A sliver. Almost missed it. But the world I came from doesn't forgive stillness. So I kept moving. I split into pieces. I started training others. Not because I wanted to, because that's how I survived. She looked away from the camera. When she spoke again, her voice was lower. There's more coming. This network, Lark, it's growing. What we do isn't personal. It's systemic. If you try to expose it, they'll erase it, and maybe you too. But if you understand it, maybe you'll see why I stayed in your life as long as I did. She leaned closer to the camera. I never loved you the way you thought I did. But I didn't fake everything. Not with you. Then a click. The video ended. Just static now. I sat there in that unit for over an hour, surrounded by every layer she ever wore, trying to feel something final: anger, grief, release. But none of it came. There was no closure, just truth, and a silence too loud to carry alone. So here I am writing all this, not because I want advice, not because I want pity, but because I want you to understand something. Lies don't always come dressed in betrayal. Sometimes they come in comfort, in consistency, in the smell of pancakes at dawn, in shared bills and anniversary cards and quiet nights in front of the TV. Sometimes the greatest lie is the life you thought you were living. And the cruelest betrayal is realizing that even your pain was part of their design. If you ever meet someone who makes you feel like home from the very start, ask yourself this: whose home are you really in?